Hello and welcome to Global Sanctuary for Elephants podcast, Global Rumblings. Global Sanctuary for Elephants, or GSE for short, is a non-profit organisation with a mission to create vast safe spaces for captive elephants where they are able to heal physically and emotionally, often from very traumatic pasts. I'm your host, Nadia Mari, and I'll be taking you to the lush jungle of the Mato Grosso region in central Brazil, home of GSE's initial project, Elephant Sanctuary Brazil, where Asian and African elephants, lovingly referred to as the girls, live their best lives. Oh, happy days! Elephant Sanctuary Brazil has a new elephant, the wonderful female African elephant, Kenya. And when she crossed the border from Argentina to Brazil, Argentina officially became elephant-free. What a fantastic development. And with that, welcome to a brand new episode of Global Rumblings, in which we will, of course, be talking about Kenya's relocation. So without further ado, let's head over to Brazil to say hi to Kat and Scott. Hi, you two. Congratulations on your new elephant.
Hey, Nadia.
Hey, Nadia. How are you? And thank you very much. And congratulations to everybody on our new elephant.
Yay! And also, congratulations, because today is actually episode number 60, which will, in fact, air on World Elephant Day, the 12th of August. So, I really love these synchronicities.
Lots to celebrate. Lots of good things to be happy about.
Many hours of talking. Goodness.
Our last episode was a sad one, was a very somber one, Tammy's sudden and unexpected passing. And we caught up with you, Scott, in Argentina. You had travelled there in the wake of Tammy's passing. And also you were checking up on Kenya. And then, a week later, you went live. Kenya was just about to be loaded or had already been loaded. So maybe you can take us there, the final preparations in that week, what it took to train Kenya maybe for this her big day, and what led you and the team to say, okay, this is the day, let's hit the road?
Well, as synchronicity had it, we were actually already had the plane ticket purchased to go to Argentina. I was leaving the day after we got the notice that Tammy had passed away. The plan was always all along for me to go on that date to see firsthand how things were going, with the understanding that things were going well, not perfect, but going well. So, again, as it worked out, it was beneficial to be able to see a little bit of the necropsy and see them in that process and be there to talk to people in the wake of his passing, and kind of be there to honor that process a little bit. You know, we always know that, we've talked about it before, is we are, from the first day to the last day, we're by their side as much as we can be. And I think, as tragic as all of that was, there's still something nice about being there and doing what we can to make those last moments, even though post-mortem, as respectful as possible. So that was the plan. On to happy news. Kenya was really, 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 really good. We actually saw I wouldn't say complete transformation, but a substantial shift in her trust, in her communication, in her understanding of what we were trying to do. We, as you all know, we were working with chaining her with a chain. That chain had actually been removed and had not put that back on, but we're still working on different things. But throughout that whole process, when Walter was there, from the time Marcos and I had last left, and the 2 months subsequent when Walter was there, we saw a substantial change in her trust. And I think that a lot of that was attributed not only to the time with her, but also his own personal journey during that time of understanding what it meant to communicate with elephants differently than he had in the past and feel the process differently than he had in the past. And it really helped her. At the same time, it really helped Tammy. We talked about it before, I think, of seeing how much he opened up with Walter, and he seemed to have the same effect on Kenya.
He's from Buenos Aires Zoo. He worked with their elephants, so elephants weren't new to him. PC training wasn't new to him, but how we generally approach elephants, and even with training still allowing for autonomy and for them to have a voice, is different in that way. So And he was very open to learning and very open to what we had to share. So
it was brilliant. I mean, especially to see the change. You know, before when we were there, even when Walter was by himself, she wasn't really keen on a lot of movement around the crate. And when we got there, we started just playing with different ideas and, you know, just walking around the crate, exploring different things. And she ended up being really tolerant and accepting of a lot of movement. We started making noise behind her. She was accepting of that. She was expecting multiple people on different sides behind her. She would back up, see us, and go back in with the crate while we were right behind her, actually holding a camera behind her hind end fully, which was, you couldn't do anything behind her before.
Sure.
And so all those things just more trust. And true to relocation fashion, the plan was to move on Monday the 30th, I guess.
I don't remember.
The forecasted high for Sunday the day before was -5, and the forecasted high for Monday was -2 with snow. So all of that changed, but it really all worked out really, really well. We were there to help with some of the animals because they don't have facilities really for cold weather at all. Just keep an eye on some things and help with a little bit with preparation. And it was snowy and cold and miserable. The people in the city loved it. The whole town was out of the town square taking photos on our way home because they haven't seen snow in 20 years. But it was really, it was beautiful, but she suffered a lot. And it was in those moments I was actually grateful, I hate to say that a little bit, but grateful that Tammy had already passed at that point. But I'm really glad he had, because it was miserably cold and a lot of wind, a lot of snow in her barn, through the vents coming through her barn.
And he barely had any sun in his yard.
Yeah, so it gets cold there. I mean, you'll have 1, 2, 3 degrees, but have -5 like it was really, really cold and miserable for everybody involved. What was interesting though is we had a heater on her crate to try to warm her crate up a little bit, and she would stay away almost all day. And then once it got actually colder, she would come into the cold crate. We tried to heat it up initially when we had the heater on and she was there. She would move away, and then towards the end we could keep the heater on while she was inside, and that all actually lended itself well to her desensitization to more noise and more comfort around the crate, and she did remarkably well.
She's a good girl.
So moving day ended up being on Friday, whatever day of the week that was. Whatever day of the month that was, Friday the 4th, Independence Day for the United States, still July. And as the week went on, every day just got a little bit warmer. Thursday was nice enough to be in a t-shirt for a little while. And early in the day on Friday, she actually went in the crate. I could have had an opportunity to close the crate. I decided not to. I almost regretted it because she didn't come in the crate for another few hours.
Almost. You sent a message and you're like, I could have closed her in. I probably should have done it. Voila. It's like, let it go.
And then in hindsight, she spent the next 3 hours just soaking up the sun, just sleeping in the sun. And we said, how perfect before we start a long trip for her to have that rest. And it was just brilliant. She came in the crate a little while later, closed up the crate. Everything went really well. There was one provisional pipe that was put in place to help us close the system. She bent it, but that was a quick fix. And then closed the crate fully, and then she did great.
Yeah, that was not part of our crate. That was just to try to help facilitate if it needed to be done in multiple steps. So just so people don't think it's our crate that bends. Our crate is made for elephants. That pipe that was used was not.
And then the 5-day trip, I think everything, if I remember rightly, so exciting. There's so much information flying around on the internet that when you go live, I think everything went quite well. Kenya was a rock star. I think one day she didn't like apples or something.
I'll tell you what was so interesting with that is the whole world thinks that Kenya didn't like apples because she didn't eat apples one time. Oh my God, she hates apples. The number of comments.
But she was really cute about, she would take things, eat things, take things, eat things. She got the apple in her nose and was like, bleh, and just kind of spit it off to the side. And he tried again and she was like, bleh. So I think people remembered it very clearly because it was very charming.
But that part of her charm is, actually today I don't want apples. And she would do that when we were doing training also. I don't really want pears today. I'll take the bananas, please. And then a few hours later, it's like, I actually really want the pears. I don't want bananas now. So it goes back and forth. But that doesn't mean she doesn't like those. She loves apples. But just because we don't want a beer doesn't mean we don't like beer. I just don't want one right now, please. But it's interesting how we jump to conclusions with animals from behavioral perspective and comforts and discomforts, and it's interesting. We don't sometimes even take that choice away from them. Inadvertently, I mean, supporters, people that adore her, almost took that choice that she had and made it something definitive of she doesn't like, no, she just doesn't want. But we do that projection all the time with animals. And that's part of that, leaving that door open just because she doesn't want to now. Try again later. She doesn't want to go in the chute now. Okay, maybe later. So interesting.
Yeah, at least for me, she's apples, pears, pumpkins. Well, the green pumpkins.
Pumpkins. She loves pumpkins.
Pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
I've never had her refuse.
That's great. And I'm sure in your online shop you can still buy, or supporters can still purchase gift baskets for all the girls, of course, but of course for Kenya. And now we know it will also include apples. So fantastic.
So road trip went well. Cold nights, couple cold days. Had to use a tarp over the crate that we've never had to use. Had a heater that we had never used before. She was a little restless the first couple of nights, and then she settled in a little bit more. I think on the third or fourth night, I don't remember. Must have been third night. Slept a little bit better. Border crossing nice and easy, nice and smooth. 2 hours start to finish, which was great. 2 hours and 15 minutes, so that was brilliant. Made good timing all the way through. No hiccups along the way that I remember. Oh, we did have battery issues. But we had to switch a battery one morning. The truck is just 5 months old. It's the same people that transported Pupy and Mara. They were great. They were amazing. The drivers were phenomenal. But we did have a battery that was bad. And then the new battery was also bad.
And then a brake issue.
Oh, yes, that's right, too. Yeah, we were going down the road and it smelled a little something that peeled off. So called up the truck, said, you guys might want to pull over. Don't know what that smell is. And the last set of brakes on the truck were locked up. So they loosened those up and then adjusted the other brakes. And
you have multiple sets on a truck because of all the axles. So it's not like the only set of brakes weren't working. Yeah. We did not have a runaway truck with an elephant on it. It was just one of the 3 sets was not happy. So
no, but everyone is, again, a really good team, a very flexible team, very protective team. They all did really well. It's always nice to see that evolution of the team dynamic and how everyone falls into place of, we're all here for her and protecting her and holding people at bay. And we had to find the balance between people that wanted to hold everybody at bay. It's like, this is an educational opportunity as well. It's not just stay the hell away from our girl. So we get to...
I'm one of those people. I am totally just, don't you come anywhere near her, raw.
But we're not letting people get too close. But again, it's a really unique opportunity.
I know.
And a great opportunity for people to see the journey. And on the Argentine side, how many comments we got, like going down the road of, I've been watching this all along. I've been waiting for her move. I didn't know it was happening now. So a lot of people have been watching her story and a lot of support.
And it was nice. It was kind of like Puppies, where you had multiple caregivers along to help take care of her. Marcos came, Walter came. He had gone back to the zoo and they loaned him back to us for the relocation. We got him for like another 12 days or so. And then Joanna from Foundation Franz Weber, who is the one who got blood with Marcos on Kenya, she came, and she's a veterinarian. I consider her a caregiver as well, because she's not just showing up and doing medical stuff and then disappearing. So she was there, and of course Dr. Trish, and nice to have a group of people that can rotate through and take care of her and offer her different sides of their personality that she resonates with and kind of looks for in different people. So
yeah, it was another one of those. I think it was day 3 before I actually fed her any produce. I was doing other things and worried about heat and tarps and all those other things. And yeah, it was really nice. It was a great team, super collaborative, looking after each other, but it was really, really, really positive, really good.
I think the one thing the team struggled with the most was her eating. And it was just, I don't know, for some reason there was a mental block. It's like everybody forgot what her eating habits were at the zoo, because her eating habits on the road were very similar to what they were at the zoo. She doesn't eat as much in the morning. She eats better towards the end of the day. She doesn't always eat, as we were talking about, sometimes she wants apples, sometimes she wants bananas, and there were some days where the caregivers are like, she didn't really eat that much this morning.
It was always interesting at the stops. They're like, she's not eating. And I was like, but how much food is left? Nothing. But she's not eating. But where did the food go? Or there's not much left. There was stuff left, but not much. There were some days there were more, some stuff there were more left than others. But sometimes you didn't see any apples. And there wasn't, all the hay that we had given her is not piled up on her. She'd been eating a lot. Her actual fecal condition actually improved greatly during the trip, compared to what it was at the zoo, because of different diet,
Yeah, her diet was so fruit heavy. heavy at the zoo, and not as much branches, not as much live food, inappropriate hay consumption, blah, 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 blah. So you end up with really loose dung. And yeah, her poop is great. I mean, I know that's not the funnest conversation for anybody, but her poop now.
That's one of the things we struggled with at the eco park for so many years. Her diet's not right. Her diet's not right. For 8 years, we've been saying it's the wrong diet. And for 8 years, it was defended. Yeah. And anytime they changed anything, they would look, oh, look, she has loose stools. Like, she always has loose stools. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's because it's hot. Okay, then when it's cold, oh, it's because it's cold. Oh, it's because she had squash. Well, what happens when she didn't have squash? It's still loose. No, that's just the condition of her stool because her diet is not balanced.
She loves squash. She gets plenty of it now.
And now
it's perfect.
Her stool condition looks brilliant now. Mm-hmm. Within a couple of days of arriving here, I mean, it was much better than normal. It just has all to do with diet.
It's so funny because talk about synchronicities. Because today I was listening to one of our older podcasts, I think it was number 35, about Mara's poop, and here we are talking about it. I remember you saying that Asian elephant poop and African elephant poop is different. And I was thinking to myself while I was listening, I wonder how sort of cow splatter like Kenya's poop is now. But anyway, in case somebody is enjoying this podcast in their lunch break, let's continue down the road. And talking of food, I saw one video that the team was actually fed and watered correctly, not just gas station food. I think I left a comment. Next time, please, with more rescues with other time management, because then maybe we can hire a food truck to follow along and cook up some dinner for the team. So
that comment just stressed me out. You want me to add that time schedule into everything else? Nadia, thank you for caring for the team, but no. It is overwhelming. From my perspective, that whole management aspect and the timing aspect of stops and trying to get stops associated when restaurants or gas stations might have more food, that's hard. Yeah. It's really, really hard.
I think it's definitely easier in Brazil just because of all of the places that have poor kilo places. Yeah. So, it's you make your own plates. It's buffet style. Yeah. So there's always a ton of salad stuff and then rice and beans and then all sorts of sides. And so you can feed people much better that way.
Normally, yes, but on Pupy's trip, we kept missing those. Yeah. We kept missing that time frame. So it was one of the things I was really keen on trying to make sure we happen this time, is that we'll make an extra stop if we need to get that timing better. Yeah. And it worked out really well. And the difference that it made for everybody was brilliant. One of those stops also was nice and sunny, have the back door open and she's soaking up the sun while people are getting food and nourishing ourselves. And it just, we are sometimes off schedule. It wanted to be an hour stop or 45-minute stop, and it ends up being an hour and a half because they actually didn't have per kilo you had to order at that restaurant. So some of those things come into effect, but it still is a huge factor to make sure people stay as nurtured as possible, especially after the first start of the trip, which was really cold. Yeah. A lot of work, long haul, short nights, not a lot of food available.
You can only survive off of Pringles and cookies for so long.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. A logistical masterpiece. So I think she was very settled in the end, if I remember rightly, from the videos that I did see. And also she was rumbling a lot, wasn't she? She was, I thought she was singing her way through Argentina and Brazil.
She was more than just rumbling. That girl was creating a racket down the road, trumpeting. And it's normal for her. That's just quintessential Kenya. That is who she is. She's very vocal. She's very expressive. And people are like, oh, is it because she's stressed? I mean, no, this is what she does when she's playful at times. And that is when she's just like, look at that, when they arrive in the morning or whatever it is. And, no sign of stress on the camera. But all the time. It's quite funny. Going through a small town and you hear, whoa, trumpet, everyone's heads turn. It was really entertaining. Coming through. So people are normally attracted to the crate. It's like, what is that? And then she did her trumpet. And it's like, oh my God, what is in there?
Yeah, I think she's one of the only ones we've had where on multiple videos you can hear her. She's so loud.
And we missed it a lot of times. We often missed the trumpets, but it was really, really entertaining. She did great. She was a rock star. And then coming out of the crate on arrival, rock star again.
Yeah, another daylight arrival. Fantastic for your supporters. So we could see.
Yes. Not only a daytime arrival, she actually came out while the sun was still up.
We arrived early in the day with Pupy. She just said, no, I'm going to wait till nighttime. No, it was brilliant. I mean, she did great. all the way around, showing, and she is what we already talked about. She is insecure, but she is very emotionally forward. She's very expressive. She lets you know what she's feeling, and she gains a lot of trust from the people around her. And I think the trust that was gained before in that last 2 months actually made the trip that much better.
Yeah,
and it goes back to when we say sometimes it doesn't happen in the time we want it to, but seeing where she was emotionally going into the trip, she was in a substantially better place than if we would have moved 2 months earlier.
But we saw something very similar with Pupy. I mean, Pupy, not just Pupy, but her team. I mean, it was all so different the second time back, and when she was moved versus the time before that. If that's what they need sometimes, even though we're all impatient and we all want them to be here. The difference it makes for them on the road and being able to handle that trip, not just well, but really, really well. It's all the difference in the world.
So is the Mendoza Ecoparque, the staff there, surprised on how well she has adapted? I was listening to this, the last episode, the one about Mara's poop, number 35, I think it was. You said that the team that had accompanied you on the trip with their mouths open because they were so surprised, saying, wow, is this our girl? And the same for the documentarian. So I could imagine it is the same. Well, it was the same for Pupy and probably also for Kenya as well, because she's opened up so much the last weeks.
Yeah, Kenya's gone really well. And I think the difference between the two Ecoparque teams is that the Ecoparque in Mendoza saw what happened with Pupy. The number of people in Mendoza that, not just the caregivers, everybody. I'm watching Pupy all the time. It's amazing. Can't wait for Kenya to have the same thing. So they were primed, ready for that to happen for Kenya.
But I think the biggest surprise to them was the space in general. They were all floored with what the sanctuary actually is. I mean, we've said it before. We can show pictures, videos, so on and so forth. But when you're here, it's just different. And then the understanding it brought the people that had been around her for decades of, I see her in this space now, and I can't imagine her in the space that she was just in for the past 40 years and what that must have been like for her.
That was the day after somebody said that I can't even see her in that space anymore.
Yeah.
That's what we saw every day, and I can't even imagine that. And
so how are the trees faring?
They were
on
doing
to better news.
Initially. The past couple of days, not so well.
She is a big giant girl and a huge heart, very soft heart, very gentle, very, very gentle, very nuanced. Has not quite been so gentle on some of the trees.
She was for many days. I mean, if they even cracked when she was leaning on them, she was like, and she would stop. But clearly that flipped very quickly once she knocked down her first tree, and now there's this little area that has had multiple fatalities.
She has a little scratch on her wrist today from playing in the bushes, and she came over and lifted up her foot to show Michelle. She's so charming. And when she arrived, all the boys are like, "Oh my God, that fence is not big enough," because she's a lot of energy. And I think we have time to finish this, but that was the day after she arrived, and the boys are like, "Oh my God, she's huge." And I said, "How big do you think she is, compared to the others?" And they're like, "She's 5 tons, she's this." And I said, "Yeah, Maya's actually bigger, as weight goes. And how much taller do you think she is than Pupy?" And they're like, 1 meter, And I said, "I think she's about 30 centimeters tall on her own." "No way, she's huge." But it's that big personality and that giant energy that she brings with that. But that giant energy is so sweet, so sweet.
So in our next recording, we can then talk more about Kenya and her first weeks then at the sanctuary. I mean, you've already had her for a couple of weeks now. So, congratulations again.
10 days.
10 days. Yeah, nearly 2 weeks. So congratulations again on your successful relocation. And all supporters, check out the website, check out Instagram and Facebook, and you can see all the videos there. I'll check the links for you and we'll put those into the show notes for you. So just before we go and end our podcast, any new nicknames apart from Miss Kenya?
No, what we can't figure out is what to name the noises she makes, which is usually easier. It's raspberries, it's percolator, it's Africans make very different noises than Asians. But I think at this point we are at least temporarily calling her one noise pterodactyl. She makes really, really interesting noises.
Yeah, I don't know, but she's Kenyacita. She is giant monkey.
Yes.
I don't know. But before we go, two things for me. One, she was actually afraid of the pterodactyls, also known as macaws. She was in the barn when the macaws flew by one time, and she went flying out of the barn screaming because the macaws flew overhead. They were really close.
They do fly low.
Yeah, they were just over the barn. But
they're wild. They're not released. They're not anything. They're just, this is their home and they're comfortable here. So.
And that only lasted, I think the next time I saw them, they were super chill. She didn't respond at all, which is, adapting to that natural environment. But I also want to do a shout out to Argentina again, and we can't underestimate what has transpired. As somebody said during the trip, it's the first country that has put an end to captive elephants in their country for ethical reasons. They made the choice to make a positive change, and this has to resonate. This has to continue to reverberate around the world and inspire others to do the same. It was their choice to say, we have to do better, and look what yielded.
Fantastic. Gracias, obrigada, Argentina. Okay.
Gratidão.
Before we get cut off, enjoy the rest of your afternoon with Miss Pupy and Kenya and all the other elephants, and of course all the work you have to do as well. Enjoy looking out onto the property, Scott, without thinking of what projects you haven't done yet. And we'll catch
right. While I stress about scheduling a chef for the next road trip. Thanks, Nadia.
Yeah, we'll do a shout out, please. Mobile food trucks, send an email to podcast@globalelephants.org with a full menu, please. Okay, you two, take care.
All right, take care, Nadia. Have a great day.
Bye.
That's all that we have time for this week. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Another great zero-cost way to support the podcast is by leaving a 5-star rating or a glowing review, as this helps other people discover the podcast. Thank you so much for your support, and until we meet up for our next episode, take care.